Welcome everyone to Fallout Podcast episode 100 and something. Be my toy, aka why do you have a cloud in your eye from infotainment? It's a futile fall showdown, breathing really hard and stuttering since 2021, all 525 songs. Going head to head, we are in round 3. We are rounding the bend to the end of round 3, but we're not there yet. Last 125, work in progress, due about 2026, but not really. Big love to all them who continue to fall, including Danny and his Phoenix of the Reannotation. Joined as always by the double A Walker of Pemberton, Alistair Aspinwall. How are you?
Hello, Brendan. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm get myself caffeinated up.
Beautiful.
And, yeah, I'm still walking and breathing.
Good. And I would have said fake Happy New Year, other than the fact that we're so far behind that these episodes are probably going out in March.
Yeah. Fuck New Year.
Exactly. And joined as always by the midwinter of the Blue Danube, DB, Eastern European lover.
Happy Easter, as it will be when this goes out. Yeah, just back from Eastern Europe with a bit of lurgy, but a bit of positivity. Looking forward to the rest of it. What were last 64, last 120, whatever this is.
Well, we've got 5 or 6 episodes left that'll take us to the last 64, and then we're very much in the home straight. But of course, we're going to take a massive detour before we get there to do something that is no longer a secret, but involves Captain Beefheart.
Mm-hmm. Ill-advised, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, we exhuming him.
Exactly. It was his birthday yesterday, I think, in our time, months ago in the time of the people listening to this. Don't matter, the dead men don't get birthday presents. So let's start first. Tonight we've got a theme from Sparta FC against Mike Love's Xexagon. Marquis Cha-Cha versus Service, and Spector versus Rector versus Middle versus Mass. Big showdowns, isn't it? Big times. Let's waste no more time and get into the first showdown. Now, I did it a little bit differently this week. I shared a live and less well-listened versions, but we're still marking them, comparing them based on mostly studio versions, but any version is good to go. So let's have a listen to Sparta and Xexagon. Ooh,
buildings.
New human. What it is? I think it's a building company. Build your own house. They love that.
when I dive, when I dive.
Yeah, so put a little bit of the early version of Mike Love's Xexagon and a very dirgy version of Mike Love's Xexagon that kind of segues into We Are Mad Mock Goth from the Knitting Factory. I think it was 2013. I need to write this down. Yeah, oh, much earlier than that, 2004. And then we heard both the dudes and the lads playing theme from Sparta about the very sprightly version, very tight version from the dudes, and I love the version with the lads where clearly when he says "be my toy," that is their signal to change to the other part. So Kieran and Dave Sparrow are looking at each other, waiting to see whether Smith's going to say it. He says it and then they immediately switch in. So yeah, coming to you first, Alistair. What's your take on these two?
Well, it's all good stuff, isn't it, Brendan? It was interesting, even the different live versions. Yeah, the first version of Sparta, it does sound like he's saying we are the love puffs at the beginning of it, which is a Profanosaurus entry for when you fart on your partner when you're in bed. So there you go. But yeah, the song's great, isn't it? The different. I mean, the first version of the live Sparta, it's a bit slower. I kind of like it at that speed. The second version, that's getting a bit faster and it kind of like loses a bit of the stomp to it. But you know, still great performances. Third one, still fast but good. Yeah, and there's no mics removed from any kits on any of that footage, which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, the Mike Love thing, I prefer the version on Country on the Click. Like that's a bit more sort of a bit more synthy, a bit more studio-y. Backing vocals nice. Got nasty rhythm guitar, which is probably my favourite bit in it. But it just starts dragging towards the end, I think. But I'm not going to criticise it. But the other version, a very dark, broody kind of groove with some nice angular guitar. Very soundtracky.
Yeah, I think without those backing vocals, that live version of Mike Love just doesn't quite take off. It's a quite nice dirgy angular riff, but the proper album version I think is where they nail it. Those backing vocals for me is key. I mean, obviously conceptually it's a Beach Boys thing, but they just break up the song in a really interesting way.
It adds a little extra to it.
It does. It makes it in my book. DB, what are your takes on these things?
Well, I always feel when you're segueing from a song to another, you're sort of admitting that neither one is a completely brilliant song, and you're kind of taking the best from each. Like one of my favourite segues, What She Said into Rubber Ring from Rank by the Smiths. Are we doing me or are we doing Stuart? I'm now Stuart's voice as well. So should we do,
I'm glad you've stepped up. You're enjoying that. Why don't you tell us what Stu thinks about these two? Otherwise, I'll forget, as I used to do when Phil used to do it. I forgot every single time. So we're back to this.
I'll firstly remind us how they got here. Then I'll do Stuart's take. Yes. And then maybe we'll come back to me if you think it's important enough. So Sparta beat a pair of Your Future Clutterers in Cowboy George and Slippy Floor. And Mike's Love's Xexagon beat Green Eyed Loco Man, so it's got form for beating A Country on the Click. And it beat Stoutman. Is Stoutman on Sublingual? Or is it something to do with that
something
era?
Like that. Around that era, yeah.
So these are, I would argue, these are here on merit. Sorry, we're not doing my take, we're doing Stuart's, of course. So Stuart's from Hartlepool. I can't do that accent, can I? So no, it'd just be a travesty. So let's not do that. So for Sparta, he says, great track, pretty straight rock, but effective. The live version from Oslo in the playlist was a treat too. If I were to be critical, I'd say it's a little too simple, not enough knots in it for me to really elevate it. The kind of thing I'd rock out with my cock out any day of the week. Here. And he says of Mike's Love's Xexagon, one of my favourites from the record. It's exactly the kind of knotty I miss from stompers like Sparta. I like the version from Country on the Click in the playlist and definitely prefer the version on the released album. I love the totally blown out drums against the more prominent choral vocals and the way the vocal and guitar sit together. When the crunchy guitar riff kicks in against the filtered one louder and more central, it gives the kick of a Sparta but with a much more textured sound world. top tier full shit.
Yeah, he does love it. He's mentioned that in the past. I think the dudes really, really nail it. I mean, again, we've said it so many times through this competition, it's like they just didn't get their shot at doing like a top-notch fall album. It was a rush job, but live, they're absolutely great. I mean, I think that'd be my toy. I always point back to a T-Rex. Right? I wonder if it was a T-Rex because it is glammy, and I wonder if it was more glammy to start with. Great backing vocals, the chanted boy girl backing vocals. It's a fall classic, and yeah, you mentioned moving the mic, Alistair. So at some point in the one of the I think the Shepherd's Bush one, he wanders over to Greenway and he starts singing with Greenway's mic. He realizes at some point that he really wants Greenway to do the backing vocals. So he picks up the mic stand and he puts it back and he puts it in front of him and adjusts it so that he can sing, which is really nice. I haven't seen that very often. And then he wanders around changing some of the things, and he has a cassette, like a dictaphone. He tries putting his mic to it, nothing happens. So then he starts putting the mic in front of like other people's amps trying to feedback, but I don't think feedback works that way, does it? You can't feedback your mic from someone else's amplifier. It has to be yours.
You just amplify their guitar.
Exactly. Yeah, so Dan, what are your takes on these two?
So Sparta it's an important one for me personally in that it sort of helped me learn how to write songs. This is around the time when this came out, this is when I started to write songs for my own bands. And I just kind of nicked this formula of kind of like high part of the guitar for the verse and then a kind of a chordy bit that I sing over because we were a trio rather than a 5-piece. So like, yeah, like I take what Stuart says that it is simplistic, but it's also kind of very important to me, and for that reason, it also kind of puts me in a very specific time and place, and that time and place is watching Final Score in the noughties, eating a bag of crisps, probably. So like it's awash with memories for me. Whereas Mike's Love Xexagon, I'd say this is kind of like the platonic ideal of a B-side. It's kind of like quite simple and like worked on in the studio. It's not overly thought, but it's got like a really interesting idea that they work through in full. I really like both of these songs. This is the toughest head-to-head of the day for me. You know, not to spoil anything that's to come. But yeah, like I don't have tons to say. I just think these are two very solid songs from a very solid era of the band. Also, very quickly, I think the live versions you sent, the dudes, is that what we're calling them? It's like Canon now. That's like a million times better than the other one. Honestly, it makes the lads look like a bunch of pub thrashers. Whereas, that second one you sent, that was rubbish. The first one was really good. Like, there's feel to it. There's actual feel to the drums, and it's the slowness and the stomp, if you want to call it that. Yeah, miles.
There is, but I think that's the professionalism they bring that you would potentially lose a lot of. So what I think about Greenway when you see him playing that riff, that nice descending riff, it's like I think like Craig, he's a noisy, sloppier kind of man at heart, and I don't think those sort of riffs. Well, you see it later when I think during is it Middlemass where Bricks ends up having to play bass. So one of them was Bricks playing bass, and oh no, it must be early on. Middlemass one, Riley's on keys, so I think Craig has to pick up the riff, and he just doesn't play the Riley kind of, the wonky kind of riff in the same way. And I got the same thing. I can't imagine that, and I don't know Peter Greenway at all, but I imagine that wasn't a particularly interesting thing for him to play. But maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, tight as a gnat's shaft, those dudes. But there's something to be said for heavy meat and tooth edge as well. It has been noted, and we have played this several times already, that the Blue Oyster Cult song, Transmaniacon MC, has a similarity. This is one of the ones that I don't really buy, but I think it's worth having a listen if you haven't already. I've got a feeling it's just that little descending riff, which is somewhat generic. I don't know if I would point it. Any
bit of a
thoughts?
comparison.
it's tenuous. There's a couple tonight. I'm going to play a few more. We've listened to them before, but I don't think DB's weighed in. You giving them that one, Dan, or not?
No, well, I've got another question based on that. I was about a week ago today. I was in a bar in Barcelona, a little bit worse for wear, tired and emotional, and Don't Fear the Reaper came on. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, are Blue Oyster Cult any good? Because I've only heard that one. So
Yeah.
what do we think? Should I look for more? Because that one didn't promise a lot to me.
I hear that that's an outlier. I don't know, but Blow-Stickle, I do. I have listened to the odd classic rock and metal podcasts along the way, and they do. They're those first 3 or 4 albums are maybe not the very first album, but there's a run in the middle that is well respected. Now, I can only say whenever I've dug in, it's just felt like chugging bluesy rock with maybe a little bit more interesting, but
It's never been anything that's really appealed to me.
Okay.
they didn't.
On the point of that song, I don't hear it.
No, it's a stretch, isn't it? But although Smith did apparently say that he wanted to do a sort of Born to Be Wild style song, so there you go. All right, well, what do Snare and Max think? So Snare has returned, and we're very happy to hear both of these young lads' opinion. Snare says definitely Sparta falls into I'd rather see them do it live, prefer the more intense latter-day Imperial Wax sped-up versions. By the end of the day, without Eleni's input, it's a straightforward meat and two veg rockers to my ear. Got a touch of the My Sharona, and it doesn't improve with more listens. From Mike Love, he says, really like the wigged out early version. Smith was no doubt trimming away at the band's indulgences. Thank God the harmonies stayed intact. They're a beautiful anomaly in the back catalogue. I mean, they absolutely are. And again, they don't very often. Interesting in both Marquis Cha-Cha and this one are two of the few that actually have like a conceptual kind of like a musical nod to something, with Cha-Cha having the kind of like Latin rhythms to some degree, and this having the Beach Boys backing vocals, but it's not something they did very often. Yeah. And the live version of My Thoughts Hexagon, I wondered why there's no backing vocals, because I'm pretty sure Eleni's on stage there, as is, I think this was Trafford and Milner and Ben Pritchard. I'm sure one of them could have had a stab at it, but who knows? Listen, while I tell this tale of woe, the worm in the bacon of BB, his name was Love, but how were they to know Mike's gift was only poison? When I died, love was all around. Love was in the air. When I died, love was everywhere. Captain I, peculiar wind. Lots of great lyrics in both of these, but I do love the Mike Love baiting lyrics. They're surprisingly on the nose for Smith. Max, Sparta, a special song for me as it signaled the return of my favorite band, the return to form. I'd kind of stupidly written them off. In hindsight, the previous 3 albums had lots of gems, but this was newly focused and disciplined TMF, no doubt largely due to Eleni, who revitalized the band and Mark's energy and brought her own sound to the mix. Anyway, this is an absolute stonker and one of the few songs to remain in the set for a decade after its release. Well, that is what's interesting. Like, by the time both the lads played it was about 5 years old. The dudes, and then by the lads, it was getting on for 10 years old by that point, I think. Absolutely. But what does Max think of the Xexagon? One of the ones that was remixed between the two versions of the album, and I prefer the US version, Hexagon with a H. I love the production and the layers of scratching and the bit where Mark says good vibrations in it rapidly. Hard pans to left and right, trippy as fuck. Shout out to drummer Dave Milner, who doesn't get mentioned in the same breath as Burns Babe or Funky Psy, but deserves to be. Milner wasn't around for long, but he did some nice stuff on that record. Yeah. Anything else to add? Or shall we take it to the vote? Yes. Which way you going, Alistair?
Well, it's tricky. Both great, but they're different as ever. I think the thing that's going to sway it for me is the lyrics, so I'm going to go for Sparta.
All right. Max has also gone for Sparta. Which way are you going, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have been upset if Mike Love gets through, because he is my favourite of the Beach Boys. But I think I will also go for Sparta.
He's the only one not feeding the animals.
Maybe you know something. You ever thought about that?
He's too busy shooting him.
Transcendentally meditating himself out of this bad situation. I am torn, and so my vote really doesn't matter, so I'm not going to I'm going to throw it towards Mike Love, although I think I probably, in the grand scheme, would have gone towards Sparta because it is just one of those standouts that if you look at the second half of the career, there's two or three people go to Blindness and they go to Sparta, and there's a couple of others, maybe something off Imperial Wax that are often just cited as the big second half stompers. DB?
Well, I think what swayed it for me is what Max said there in the comments. Like I remember sort of being a nascent Fall fan, and then it was like, oh, thank fuck, my era has got a decent one, and it came because of Sparta. So look, these are both really great songs. Not a lot in it.
No, I think Xexagon, I think you said B-side. I'd go more with like album track. I think it's a solid album track, whereas Sparta is a single, and as we know, we're Glory Boys, we're greatest hits boys here. So the final is literally going to be that best of the fall compilation. Stuart has given Sparta 2.5 and Mike 1,000 points. So it actually was 4-2 in the end. Not a terrible showing from the Love Machine, but that takes us to something that on paper seems like an easy win, but we've shown the Dark Horse here a lot of love in the previous rounds. So it is Marquis Cha-Cha up against Service from the Infotainment Scan. Marquis! I mean, fucking hell! If you look, you're talking about the difference between the two versions. This one in Melbourne and the one in New Zealand, which are like 2 weeks apart, if I've got my dates right. It's like, geez.
It's for all the people who want to live free. Hells Angels, hitchhikers, Fighters James Dean. Marquis Cha-Cha. We can never go home. We can never go home. Australia and South America, nothing to go home for, just another Britain bar. Marquis Cha-Cha. We can never go home. We can never go home. Stranded in South America, just another Britain bar. Nothing to go home for. But that Spanish comes over to me. I was a job as a broadcaster. That's how I came to be. Marquis Cha-Cha.
Yeah, so just thought I'd show that little one there, which I think is from somewhere in France, Rouen, with bricks on bass, because it was apparently the very short period of time between Hanley going on quote unquote paternity leave and classically trained panpipist Simon Rogers joining. So I think Bricks sat in on bass. She does not look happy at the end of this video. Maybe 7 minutes of play of that pummeling riff. I mean, it just gets you to actually think like Hanley was just I'll talk about this more with Spector versus Rector. Just what was going on in his mind, just plowing that same 3-note riff for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Just takes a special kind of person to do that. Anyway, DB, what do you think about these two?
Well, we've only looked at one.
What's the other one?
Service.
If we must. Got too excited by seeing bricks on bass.
I'd never seen that before. That's new, mate.
Yeah, Mbappe.
Why do you have a cloud in your eye? It's infiltrating mine. Coney Brown leather jacket, the street was plain and clean for a change. Must have been the rain. Cold, pull my shirt off. Winter is here, and like yourself. Kick the leaves, learning about time. Kick the broken brown branches, the rotting broken branches. My birthday. Future. And my
I didn't want to put any of the like full gigs in there because I know it's a pain in the ass finding the song, but like some of the versions of Service, they seem to only played about 10 times or so. There's a couple where it's very clearly, driven by those synths, but and I'm sure in the room that was a lot more synthy, but that version there kind of definitely highlighted the guitar and bass is actually in there and doing something. It's a really nice chord progression for sure. But DB, now that we have actually listened to our full quota, what's your take?
So Marquis Cha-Cha, in fact, let me just do how they got here. Do apologise. Marquis Cha-Cha beat WMC Blob 59 and Slanking, which I personally disagree with, but Service, as we all have well established, Service had one of the real battles of round one when it beat Chicago Now, and then it beat Light Fireworks in round two. Marquis Cha-Cha has never been a huge favourite of mine. This listen to it, it reminds me of kind of like like late 80s, early 90s video game music. Like it feels like the switch from the intro to the second part feels like you're transported into a new level of an early kind of scrolling platform game.
Right.
I don't have tons to say about it. It's just always, I won't say it's been a skipper for me, but it's located on a record I don't particularly listen to a lot. And it's one of the main reasons for that. Never quite, those live versions do promise a little bit more, especially the F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T version. That is really kind of scathing.
It's nice and tight, yeah.
Yeah. Service, well, I don't know if you recall when we three kings of Fall podcasts went to America on We Are the Fall, and we were asked the question if you could have someone cover a Fall song. Didn't I say Service, and I would let Harry Styles cover it because it's kind of like it's a big proper pop song, isn't it? And like I think it in front of more ears, it would get the love it deserves.
Other than the fact it being much more kind of horizontal, it doesn't really do the big leaps, but it's nice.
You're right, and I think there's enough elements in there to do that, though. Like a cover might kind of reveal those elements because, I think you would naturally have to project it. You could imagine a house singer on this. Also, that first version you played, is that an alternative take because it feels a bit more bassy?
First version, I think, is P.O.D.C.A.S.T session.
Of course it is.
And then there was I I think I only played I played the live one because I didn't go back and play. There's an early like demo version, but it's very similar to the one that's on the album. The P.O.D.C.A.S.T version, yeah, a little bit more. It's interestingly sluggish for what is essentially a house track.
It is sluggish, but I mean, it's so interesting playing, the live version of Marquis Cha-Cha where it sounds like Steve Hanley is some kind of like bass playing Marine.
Yeah.
And then you play Service where he sounds incredibly sensitive and sensual and just shows the range and wonder of the man. I think Service is like a contender for my favourite fall song of the 90s. I think it's just really beautiful. I love it. I love a good Korg M1 jam.
Yeah.
It's got everything for me. And yeah, it's like very understated. I think it's a little masterpiece.
I am with you on Service, but I have a very deep love for Marquis Cha-Cha because, again, I do like the kind of rhythms that he put on there, even though I question, why you're doing it on the song about South America. But the live version, like I said, 2 weeks apart, and I might be wrong, it might be years apart, but absolutely sloppiest. They don't even seem to be playing the same chords. They're playing some kind of like jazzy seventh chords. And then, 2 weeks later, we're recording it for the album, and I definitely know he whipped him into shape before they recorded it for that Fall in a Hole. But very, very nice. And I think 2 songs tonight, Spector vs. Rector, of course, but also Marquis Cha-Cha. If we ever did decide to do episodes based on the lyrics of a single song, this one is why I keep coming back to it. He's the kind of jokey, expat sat in a bar, the regime breathing down his neck, and he may or may not be a traitor to the cause, apparently based on Lord Ha-Ha, the man who days before the bombs dropped went on the radio and said, what was the line? The Manchester people have bought their turkeys for Christmas, but they won't be cooking them. And then they went and bombed them. They bombed all their chippies. How about you, Alistair? What about these 2 tracks?
Well, I love Marquis Cha-Cha. I think actually I'm going to make a Factory Records comparison for both of these songs. Like, I said it before. Reminds me of a certain ratio. Like they're kind of sort of trying to emulate them. Oh, go on, let's take the piss out of them, lads. And I think they did quite well. Those live versions were interesting. Going from like the rough and ready, where they sounded like it's lacking confidence or it's a bad monitor mix or something like that. There's something clearly not right.
Yeah.
And it could be, like you're saying, it could just be that it's not a fully formed song at that point. But you got a good sort of, decent versions of it. Having the kazoo in there is brilliant. At the start of it as well, on the first couple of versions of it, it just sounded like proper noisy, like it was. I'm not going to say like hardcore punk band like, but it was just like it was proper. Yeah, going for it. Service. So the other Factory Records comparison, I've done it before as well. It just sounds like Bad New Order.
Sound like New Order, but not Bad New Order.
Or M People. I remember Ezra really liking this one, and see Dan quite likes it as well. But I cannot stand it. This is part of the reason why I went off the Fall round about this point. And right in the middle of it, there's that really horrible synth. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse. It reminds me of something like that'd be on a Farm B-side or something like that.
I think that synth is heralding Secession Man, like a trumpet in the distance.
Yes.
See, I don't mind
a MIDI trumpet in the distance.
Yeah, I don't mind the Secession Man synthing, but I think it's just because of the house piano with it as well.
Well, Bush walked so that Nagel could run, and this SMRS, I'm not sure, but the thing about although it definitely has a vibe of it. I just always thought he did the Latin rhythms because it was about South America, but it could well be that. But the thing about that Melbourne gig, I'd have to look. Of course, none of them played on the studio version. It was basically, wasn't it all Carl and Mark, and maybe somebody else is like, but they'd never. Those songs were not band songs. So if they've record came out, they went on tour, they're probably knowing the way these nutcases work, they're probably learning it as they play, learning it on the road. But It's the way it goes, isn't it? What do these lads think? Max says, Marquis Cha-Cha, carnival vibes from the Mighty Fall. Nobody saw that coming. A wonderful post-Falklands take on the Lord, haha. Burns and P. Hanley really playing off each other beautifully with a great shuffling beat. Shanley dominating the melody and almost a kind of high life guitar from Riley, I'm guessing. Yeah, it does sound like that. I wonder if this was the track that saw the Fall get booked for WOMAD. Hello, we are the Fall and we are from the first world. I don't know if he actually said that. But they did play WOMAD like the year after that, I think. But what does Snare think about this? Daft brilliance, mainly thanks to Burns' adaptability. Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty under-rehearsed and underproduced, but maybe the better for it. Spot-on lyrics. Tempo shifts, whistling and overcooked, yeah. Western Hemisphere meddling and propaganda in South America precog. Of course, he did then go on to write Luciani, which had a big section about Martin Bormann being in South America. We'll never see the likes of it again. But what does Stuart think?
In the first place.
So, on Marquis Cha-Cha, Stuart opines, if only for the bass line, this would be in the pantheon of essential Fall, but thankfully it ties together into an odd dance number. The whole thing sort of sways and swaggers somehow, and the Fall in the whole version emphasises that. I think it's due to the guitar skank throughout being very clear and playing off the bass line more. I won't get into the politics of it, says Stu. I find it sort of obscure. And on t'other one, on Service, just lovely. Those house-ish pianos and the understated rhythm section. I think that's where I stole understated from. I was reading and he's influenced me. The melancholy narrative style delivery of the vocals, it just really works for me. I think it's one of the better dance-inflected numbers. The Peel session version from the playlist is a treat, which I haven't listened to in years. Going to have to dig out the box and give that a listen to that whole session later. And I'm wishing I hadn't sold the box because, yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, here you go. This is the second of the night sound-alikes. This one I think is a little bit closer. And again, we have listened to it before. But She Creature of the Hollywood Hills by the Stooges. Have a gander at this one for Marquis Cha-Cha. And that's about it. So, not bad, not too far off. Got some little some nodding of heads in the room. If you're gonna steal, you better bloody steal from Iggy and Co. The song from Marshall Sweet, I think it's called On My Own, is another example of those kind of lazy house pianos, but that one's a little bit more upbeat. But I think it is an interesting take on dance and house music to make it at that tempo. Makes more sense if you think it might have originally been written on guitar and bass, and Dave might have added more and more. But very good, very good. So what do these lads think? They think Service, Max, winter is here, unlike yourself. What a beautifully melancholy line. I love the piano on this, which sounds a bit like Shanley was doubling, and even the naff synth preset can't spoil the pensive mood, though it tries its best. Brilliantly moody. Yeah, we talked a bit before about the noirish lyrics. They're somewhat oblique, but suggest a man walking in the wintry rain, but for what purpose, to what end, we don't know. Grab my hat and my corny brown leather jacket, streets grey and clean, for a change must have been the rain. So very cinematic, and all the better for it. Think you nailed why I don't like. I agree, says the internet.
I believe that comment was timed by the internet to the comment that it was about like a certain ratio that Alistair was talking about.
You're not a fan of ACR? They're jazz.
I don't know. That came from the internet.
Oh yeah. Well, the internet's doesn't know what it fucking thinks, does it? This guy's head up his ass. Why you have your tears in your eyes from infotainment? That is a question, Dan. I guess you ask yourself on a daily basis.
Yes, and I look to David Bowie's One Outside to solve it for me.
The heart's filthy lesson. But what does Snare think of this one? There's so much in this track to like: a nice autumnal, angsty lyric, melancholic Italo house piano, and a killer bass line. But fuck me, the same brass ensemble O2 preset that sings Pine Leaves. Boo, veto. I don't mind a bit of Bush, but there's the odd moment I just can't get on board with. Very good, Mr. Snare. But cannot accept either Pine Leaves or Succession Man or this being ruined by any of the Casio presets. They're all acceptable in my book. But it is time for a vote, and Stuart has gone 2.9 from Marquis Cha-Cha, but 3 for service. So he's thrown his hat towards the service. Let's give the impression that this is going to be closer than it actually is. Dan, which way are you going?
Oh, well, Marquis Cha-Cha has some really good live versions. And I was going to ask you, actually, sorry to kind of ask questions when you're just looking for a score.
I want questions. The score is arbitrary.
Well, this definitely comes into play in the next duo. But like, there's a sense that like some of the live versions show what the song could have been, or maybe it is the song in another light. So the live versions of Marquis Cha-Cha, are we voting on our new information, or
no? It's always been the case of any version counts. It could tip the scales.
Okay, well, not in this case, but certainly in the next one. I'm gonna go with service just because the alternate take or the Peel version is also great. I'm warming to Marquis Cha-Cha, but it's been a long road with me in that song, and I think I should just leave it here in round 3.
Well, I'm afraid we can't allow that, but we will give you a point. We'll put your point towards service. I think Spector vs. Rector and Marquis Cha-Cha, there's a version that sounds like an early version where they haven't quite got it together. I would say that once they get it, they don't tend to evolve, unlike, I mean, it's true for many bands, but there are a lot of bands who will kind of adapt songs as they play them more, but it's rare. And in this case, we'll get the earlier versions where they haven't quite got it, whatever the defining feature of it is. And then, it doesn't take them many plays. Usually a few months later, you hear it again and it's absolutely nailed, and then it sort of stays in that form. And I think the Totals version of Spectre, we'll come back to this, but also that Melbourne version of Marquis Cha-Cha, I do love it. Do love to see behind the curtain. But which way's Alistair voting is the real question here.
Well, I've always voted against service, and I'm going to continue that policy.
Yeah, Marquis Cha-Cha. Well, Max has said in a Craig Revel Horwood voice. Now, I, being an expat myself, have no idea what that means. I imagine he presents some sort of lifestyle show on ITV.
You're not a million miles off. He's one of the judges on Strictly.
There we go. All right. How would he say it? Would he say it like Marquis Cha-Cha?
Yeah, very flamboyant and camp.
Flamboyantly, I think I know him. I have had the misfortune of seeing Strictly once or twice. So it looks like it might be down to me because we've got 2 for Cha-Cha and 2 for service. I've never done this before, Alistair, but I'm splitting.
Splitter.
I'm splitting. We're going to the fingers. Out of 3. And just to be clear, I'm rounding Stuart's up to 3. So his vote is will not count. So out of 3 for Marquis Cha-Cha, 3, 2, 1, go. We got 3, 6, 7, 8. And then out of 3 for service. 3, 2, 1, go. I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to fuck it over, Alistair. You're the worst. So 6. All right. Marquis Cha-Cha goes through.
Whilst I'm unhappy with that as an individual event, I think Alistair's been screwed over the most, and I think he deserves.
I think he should ask himself some serious questions about why that keeps happening. But that's for another day. Maybe for his deathbed. But for now, let's go to Spector. Let's go to Spector versus Rector, which would be many decades from now, of course, Alistair. Many years. Spector versus Rector against Middlemass. Whatever, mate. Fucking hell. Fucking, what's going on?
Not liking it.
There we go.
our dreams live on. A young sucker, great bell long. A man greenway, come on. Such hatred, song. And our dreams live on. The hero, and the Spector possesses the hero, but the possession is ineffectual. The possession is ineffectual. Those flowers on new purity, unclean. To go. Saved 1,000 souls. You can only save your own. I'm sort of blood, but always good. It's like I've drunk myself sober. I get better as I get older. And my dreams live on. Young sucker, great Milan. Such hatred to son. That doing, come on.
Spector versus Rector. The Rector lived in Hampshire. The Spector was from Shorazina. Evil dust in the air. The Rector locked his doors.
Nice, yes. I played a couple of live versions of the one off Total's Turns, as you said. So these are, I think they're all from 1980. Where arguably they haven't quite formed it yet. And then the one from the case tapes, which I think is not long after. Correct me if I'm wrong, listenership. Maybe it's before. I don't know, but they've clearly got it together. And then that one from Glasgow, which is a little later, maybe the year after, where they've kind of, it's very menacing. And this is actually what you said a little bit earlier about evolving at the guitar, which doesn't feature that much in the original, and the studio version is now kind of come to the forefront in this very menacing sort of way that kind of almost a precursor to something like Smile. So very, very good. I'm calling it. It's over.
Are you going to play the other song?
Of course I am. Just wanted to have a bit of a chat about Spector versus Rector before I played whatever garbage it's up against.
Well, this is the lecturing part of the concerts.
Riley hammering away at inaudible keyboards. Nice. What does Stuart think about these two? If that's not a
Stuart,
rude question.
Of course. Let's begin with Stuart and his thoughts on these. So he starts with, sorry, I just scrolled through. So Spector versus Rector, totally unique, absolutely essential, dripping with ectoplasm. The way it switches gear throughout whilst keeping the essential elements the same is a masterclass in repetition. And the whole of Unclean before the switch gives me a little shiver every time I hear it. For some reasons inexplicable, the line "the possession was ineffectual" does something to me. And for Middlemass, Prime Fall Snark is a polished, noisy little gem. Love the hee-haw keyboard, an essential piece of one of the most essential pieces of Fall product, and yet it's against something as singular as SV versus R, and so it must fall by the wayside. Playing his hand quite early there. But,
I know.
uncontroversially, I would argue.
I would say so. I'd say my only criticism of Spectre vs. Rector, because I absolutely love it, is that bass note just holds everything in place, that little run, that bass run. And arguably his best set of storytelling lyrics, which arguably is what he does best. But I don't know. This is where I'm torn. Is it too much to have the best song be a set of, like, a story set of lyrics, which he didn't do that often, but did typify a lot of the early stuff? And also, is it more than the sum of its parts? I don't know if it launches off something like Service. And I know some of us in the room don't love it, but I think it is more than the sum of its piano and its guitar. And is there something there that elevates it? Like the song Baby Love, there's something more. Whereas Spectre versus Rector, no, it's just a sandwich, a well-constructed sandwich rather than a wonderful souffle. Alistair, what do you think of these two songs?
I kind of agree with what you're saying there in a weird way, Brendan. Yeah, because like they're both brilliant in different ways. Like Spectre versus Rector, that's like more of a sort of dirge that, and it's really creepy. You can't get away from like the sort of like dark feeling of it. The live versions as well, there's some excellent guitar work going on there. That was the thing that really, really stood out to me. And like we're saying, it's like a song kind of in like work in progress kind of thing. So it's like the variations, and there's nothing bad. Both of them reminded me of Beefer as well, but in different ways. But Middlemass, again, it's another classic. But yeah, it's kind of like a pop song, really, compared to Spectre versus Rector, where that's more like the dirge. This is like more polished. It sounds more structured, and it works really well that way. You know, they're completely different animals, but they're both great, and it's again a very, very difficult decision.
Yeah, the again, going back, something like Mia Sood Mag takes on the Middlemass idea for me to the next kind of level, which was about a year later. And again, talking about this idea of it gelling as a song. But Middlemass, I really, really like. It's not a song I'd spent much time with before this competition, but I love it. I mean, love that wonky Yummy Fur riff that Riley, I'm guessing Riley pulls out the bag in the second half of Middlemass. Love the fact that it's some pretty on the nose kind of political bantering all the way through about not letting the Weimar in. And it does, like, if you look there, it offers a very good perspective of the two sides of of the Mighty Fall around this era. We go back again to Spector, and it's like I have to keep saying like, is this my favorite song? This is the best song. But then when you think about the menacing nature of it, Smile is more menacing because it doesn't have the comfort of having it be a cheeky song about ghosts. It is genuinely malevolent, although it could just as much be like that movie Smile, which is about monsters, what make you smile and then eat people. You love films, don't you, Dan? What do you think of the Smile franchise?
The Smile franchise.
Have you not seen the movie Smile? It's
no. Sorry, like,
schlocky.
is it horror?
It's horror. It's
Horror is very much not in my bailiwick.
schlocky horror. It's garbage. You're not losing anything by straying from your Belarusian limited run Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think of these two songs?
So let's remind ourselves how they got here. So Spector beat Live at the Witch Trials and Sing Harpy. Middlemass beat Birmingham School of Business School and Hotel Bloedel. Some more sexism from the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, Middlemass. I mean, I think these two songs kind of speak to the strengths of Riley. I think Riley is a kind of an anchoring presence in both. And correct me if I'm wrong, is Middlemass, the lyrics are sort of about him, like the tape loop, soft
that is what
stuff.
that is what we are led to believe, and he hadn't gone by that point. Middlemass is Slate's, right? So, and apparently it is Riley's tune. So he does a speech at the beginning of one of the some of the live stuff where he explains it. Riding my long varied career, the English go in every bar in Europe and think it is some kind of exception. You want to know about Switzerland, you want to know about Oslo, violence. Well, I sat down, you always sit down, and people go around in Europe. They think there's a bar where there's a standard. He kind of says that is as much about the English and their attitudes, but lines like the boy's like a tape loop and you have soft mitts. He's the last domain of the very backroom brain. He learned a word today. The word is misanthropy, and he's running to and fro the cats in Tin Pan Alley, which apparently was a dig at Riley going off writing songs with new people and being because the Creepers was on the horizon, maybe.
So it's a lovely dig. Middlemass, yeah, like I get that sort of proto indie pop almost from it. I get a bit Swell Mapsy, like the kind of the about face in the middle to the second half, which I really like. Spector is one I've spent a lot of time with because one of the first compilations I bought was the Psychic Dancehall 3-disc, and I believe it's the legendary Chaos tape version that they've put on rather than the Dragnet album version. So to me, that live version is the definitive version, regardless of anything before it and after it. In fact, when I heard Dragnet for the first time, I was thoroughly disappointed because it was this sort of trashy, like what felt half-assed at the time.
Yeah,
and I think I don't know, this sort of thing you're saying about it, some of its parts. I think it is more than the sum of its parts. It is what are its parts? It's a little guitar melody, one note, and a story. But it's you want to hear it forever. It's like it's so doomy and rich, and I don't really follow Smith down the alley of this kind of like hauntology or that kind of mid-century English weirdness. Like that's not really my area, but like I just feel everything he's putting down there. I feel this kind of this is the song that makes me want to go down that kind of eldritch, fantastical world of his. A brilliant song, not even close here.
Not even close. Absolutely. And Middlemass, as good as it is, and would be a gem in the crown of many, many bands. But Max has so much to say about Spector, the found recording quality of it. Like somebody found it in the church afterwards, and what really went on here, we only have this excerpt. This is the track most aided by Dragnet's truly fucking horrendous recording quality. How the bass line goes, chug, chug, chug. Is that lyric Rape Me Lord or Ray Me Land? Probably the latter. I think we have decided collectively that it is, thankfully, the latter. That bit were due to a recording mishap, a completely different part of the song is playing over the top and conjures up the feeling of being in two places at once. Some kind of dimensional rift has opened Actually, for a lot of the song, it sounds like the clean recording has been overlaid, over-recorded on a ghetto blaster at the far end of the room recording, which is really interesting as a way to add atmosphere. The way it ends is if someone had just pressed stop on a handheld tape recorder, that little kind of rapidly slowing down noise you get on all tape recorders. It is a unique and special piece of art. And I mean, that is the thing also. We talk about things like paintwork and things where they've messed around with the tape a little bit, and Berry, where they have multiple takes of the same song. This, you've got to say it was a deliberate attempt to create that mood. And interesting you coming to it, Dan, from having heard what is a lo-fi but very kind of a great take of a band that's in full flight, and then going to this studio recording and being disappointed by it to some degree, because maybe it does seem like it's a little bit more of a set piece. I guess that's where I'm keep cycling back to. I keep coming back to it. In my mind, Smile and Spector versus Rector are going to come up against each other at some point, and that will be the hardest decision in the entire competition for me. And it comes down to Smile seems to do it for real, and Spector is a nice story, and referencing, which he doesn't reference very much in other songs, but this is just packed with it. Several M.R. James stories, Lovecraft, specific names of books, and even possibly some biblical references, going all the way back to what's the place, Chorazina, the negative of Jerusalem, which we touched on in the Roman Total episode all those years ago. But a masterful piece of work. And Middlemas. I've just lost wherever I am, because I haven't even told you what Snur thinks of Spector versus Rector in this 15-minute gush. The levels of invention, says Snur, are really up there with this group's highest accomplishment. The idea of having the first half in a shitty practice room and then overlaying a pristine vocal is a really bravura move. The shift of focus of the studio adds this sense of moving perspective, and add those last moments of wallpaper scraping guitar and the bass doing a key change unbeknownst to anyone else in the band. You got yourself some pure gold. Have we heard what everyone thinks other than the boys' versions of Middlemas? We've heard it all, right?
I feel like we have.
I feel like we have too. Max says Middlemas, oof, there's some heavy casualties this week, calling it one of the few triplet time fall songs to my knowledge. To reuse a past review of mine, those discordant Nino keyboards versus the guitar chords in the riff, Riley versus Scanlon, I would say. I could use some pure musicologists to explain why they're so great. Those chords are one of my favorite bits of fall riffage ever. Loses focus into the sections, but I still kind of like the noodling in those bits. This is his Middlemas take. And Snur says, on paper, this would be a long way from one of my favorite tracks, in spite of the apparent Riley bashing lyrics. It's got his bouncy cheekiness all over it, which can be an acquired taste, but remains one of his absolute best. The way the cymbal crashes punctuate the bass line, coupled with a crisp dynamic production, really feels like the band tuning into a whole new level. The extra boingy section in the middle just serves to bookend and to give the bookends more dramatic impact. The evil is not in the extremes, it's in the aftermath, the Middlemas after the fact, Vulturious in the aftermath. Summer close season, a quiet dope and cider man, but during the season, hard drugs and cider mates. The boy is like a tape loop. The Wehrmacht never got in here. The time has come. Which way are we going, Alistair?
Again, it's a tough decision, but I'm going to go for Spector versus Rector.
Easy, not difficult for me at all, to be honest. Spector all the way. Which way are you going down?
Spector.
Easy, innit? And Stuart has given Spector 1,000 points. And he has given Middlemas a mere 800. And Maximilian has gone also for Spector. So Middlemas, a big hitter, but in the end, it took a heck of a beating, didn't it? So theme from Sparta FC, Marquis Cha-Cha and Spector versus Rector has put out Mike Love's Xexagon service, and Middlemas are at the point where we're saying goodbye to some of our favourites, and I hope and pray that we don't just end up with your mum's top 10 fall tracks. But you know what? Maybe our mums have got good taste.
No, it's going to be Secession Man versus Small.
It will be calling it. Anyway, thank you, my friends. It's been a delight. So next week we'll see where the world takes us.
Do we have a guest next week, Brendan?
I believe we do. I believe we have a young man. I think his name's Tom, and he may or may not be the drummer in Alistair's favorite rock and roll band. His name's Tim, and if all goes according to plan, he will be donning his gloves to give Alistair the verbal thrashing he so well deserves.
Drummer on drummer violence.
Yeah, unfortunately, you won't be hearing this banter before he comes on because we are several years behind in our putting out our episodes. But alrighty, take it easy, my friends, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
See you, fellas.
So light pink, scarlet, smooth, discarded. Deep rain on discarded. Stop smooth.
And take care, the both of you.
Yeah. Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, all.